Hello. Today I have the lovely Jhéani with me, and Jhéani is in Los Angeles.
Yes, Los Angeles,
Lovely.
California.
Lovely. And we're going to be talking about family scapegoating and going no contact from the family scapegoat and pursuing career and passions. And I'll start off with Jhéani, you're a singer-songwriter, and you're also sharing your story of family scapegoating. And on TikTok, we have 12.5 million views. You have 12.5 million views on your tell us about that.
Yes, I went viral on TikTok back in December. I had had the idea to share my story, my escape story of escaping my abusive family. Um, right before I left, I just had this inspiration that I wanted to document it so I could share it with the world potentially later. Because I've never really shared like a lot about my story online. So I had just taken some videos of the process of me escaping, and then a couple months into once I got settled in my new place, a couple months later, I decided to actually make the video and post it. And I actually had the intention of it going viral because I wanted to reach my desired audience and,
Mm.
people who connected with my story. And then I did this whole like manifestation, like just a moment to just connect to like what I wanted the impact of this video to be. And before I went to bed, and I woke up the next day and it was viral.
You're a good manifester. 12 and a
It was
half
crazy.
million views, not to be sniffed at. That is phenomenal. That is a lot of people. And what was it that they were connecting with you and the video in particular? What were the comments like?
Ooh, I got so many comments about just either the main one was either I'm really proud of you for doing this and for like stepping out and sharing this and having the courage to escape because it's really scary to do that. And also a lot of people were saying like, wow, this makes me feel like I can do it too. This makes me feel like some people were saying like, okay, this is my sign. Like I'm gonna actually commit because I've been thinking about it and I've been wanting to do it, but I've been afraid. And this just gave me courage to do it. Or some people were sharing their stories of when they escaped. There's people who were like, I escaped when I was 17, when I was a single mom, whatever their story was, and sharing their journey with that. And so yeah, it brought in so many different types of people from all over the world, all walks of life, all age ranges, who could connect or resonate with my story in some way. And it was just really healing for me to see like literally
Mm.
7,000 comments of people just like being, so supportive and compassionate and validating of my experience because I'm not used to that.
Mm. Wow. Like a new experience for you.
Yeah, definitely. It
Wow.
just made me feel like, wow, I'm not alone, because
Mm.
in this experience as a family scapegoat, you feel so alone and so isolated. And
Hmm.
it's just really healing to just see how not alone you actually are. And that there's so many people all over the world that have been through this.
Yeah. And would you be able to share a little bit about what it was like for you as the family scapegoat and the type of abuse that you were on the receiving end for decades?
Yeah, so it mainly started I was experiencing narcissistic abuse from all of my primary caregivers. So not just my parents, but my grandparents, my aunts, uncles. I was experiencing that from the time I was born, pretty much. But I didn't know that that wasn't normal. I thought that was just how normal relating was because it was just kind of like a thing that was in my family. But the family scapegoat abuse didn't start till I was 17, and that was when my parents started to like actively kind of badmouth me to my siblings, badmouth me to the other people in my family, just always talking about me in a negative light and like making me this problem child, even though I was like such a repressed teenager. I didn't do anything that would be considered bad. Like I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, I didn't, you know, sleep around. I didn't do anything that was even remotely, seen as bad. But in their eyes, because I was individuating and having my own passions and my own interests and my own things that I wanted to do for myself, that was going against what their plans were for me. I became this like terrible person in their eyes. So they started to talk about me a lot to other family friends, relatives, strangers, people I would just meet. They would like literally like introduce me to them and then just start shit talking me. Am I allowed
Okay.
to say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Start bad mouthing me to them. And I don't even know who the person is, but that's just what they wanted them to know about me. So it made me feel really bad about myself, just always having negative things said and being made to seem like I was just this terrible problem child, just because, you know, I wanted to be my own person. And then they started to like kind of drive a wedge between me and my siblings. So turning my siblings against me and, you know, because they always wanted to feel like they had people on their side even though we weren't actually like in a battle, but they would like, you know, kind of turn people against me. So I lost my relationship with my siblings because, especially my younger siblings, because they only ever really heard negative things for as long as, you know, my younger sister, like her whole upbringing, she was hearing bad things about me.
Mm.
Um, and they drove a huge wedge between me and my other like extended relatives, the larger like African community that I was connected to. So I ended up just feeling very alone because I felt like everybody had this negative view of me in their minds, that had been so built up over years and years of my parents just always like, you know, just always like picking on me and always like making it seem like everything I was doing was wrong. And so after a while, it just brought like a huge sense of division between me and my entire support network, pretty much.
It's really hard, isn't it? You know, when a gang of people do that, it's hard for the mind to navigate that and digest that and make sense of it, especially when you're not yet in adulthood because your brain is still developing. And what
Yeah.
type of, how did you make sense of that in your mind? Was there limiting beliefs that you took on and internalized from making meaning of that lived experience?
Yeah, well, when you're being bullied by your own family, you know, like um when everybody's like talking about you or when everybody is treating you differently than everyone else. I wasn't invited to my younger sibling's wedding, and that was devastating for me and very, very traumatic. I was the only one out of all the people in our family, which we have a huge family because both my siblings have nine. I mean, both my parents have nine siblings. So, you know, huge people, huge family, huge, um, you know, extended relatives. And I was the only one that wasn't invited. And I just took that so personally. And it was really
Mm.
painful because, you know, I love my siblings so much.
Mm.
And I could have never fathomed doing that to them. But it was just because of the triangulation that my parents had created between, you know, them and me and my siblings that it was like I was just the odd one out because they had already kind of like chosen a side, I guess. So that was really hard. And going through that just made me feel so worthless and so not loved and not seen and not cared about. And yeah, it just made me feel really bad about myself because I just didn't understand how they were all okay with it. I didn't understand how they
Mm.
all didn't care if I was there, or like didn't,
Mm.
you know, like it just was so bizarre to me that they could all sleep at night knowing that they were treating me like that. And yeah, and just it just made me feel very hopeless that I would, you know, ever have that like love from, you know, family and just in relationships in general, because, you know,
Mm.
your family is like your number one example of what love is and what
Mm.
connection is and what relationships are. That's like your foundation for that. So when you don't have that, it makes you feel so unable to have that in general, you know?
Mm. It's hard for a human not to have trauma after that experience. Like you can't have that lived experience and just kind of float on a cloud and not let it affect you because they're your DNA, they're the people that you come from. So yeah, it's very intense. So we were talking about limiting beliefs. So yeah, the impact of scapegoat child abuse, all those limiting beliefs. I'm unworthy, I'm alone, I don't matter, I'm not good enough, and other people don't like me. So, as well as us being the problem, as you've spoken about very well, it's then other people don't like me. So, like, it's all permutations, all ramifications, and we are the problem. So, yeah, that thing about
Yeah.
other people. So then you get rejection sensitivity. So very walking on eggshells around other people, because if they reject us, it sends us right back into the attachment wounding. So attachment rupture with the primary caregivers, because when a human comes into the world, you have to have a secure attachment with a sane adult. And if you don't, you've got very wobbly foundations for your psychology. So then you're walking around like with an open, gaping wound. And then if somebody doesn't look at you in the right way, it can just set off that wounding. So it's just treacherous territory.
Yeah, and I think a big thing that happened for me was I developed a really deep inferiority complex
Mm,
where I felt fundamentally less than other people
mm,
for a
mhm.
very, very, very long time. I would like even just at school with friends, new people I would meet, like I would just always just feel like I was beneath them or below them, or like, not good enough, or not worthy, or not as valuable. Um, because I was made to feel that way by my family, by my parents, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't worthy of their love, I wasn't likable. And the feeling of not being liked has been a very deep like thing I've worked on healing for my
Mm,
whole life pretty much, because it's relational injury, and it affects your view of yourself in relationships in general, even when it
mhm.
has nothing to do with your family. And so, feeling safe with human beings again
Yeah.
has been its own journey for me, like feeling safe
Mhm.
in relationship and feeling like I'm capable of having relationships where people do like me and people do
Yeah.
love me and people do see the positive qualities in me, and
Mhm.
and um unlearning the lies that said that like there's something wrong with me, or I'm secretly this bad person and I just don't know it, or I'm
Yeah.
secretly this person that, other people don't like,
Mm.
just like having to undo all of the paranoia and the anxiety around that because of how deeply ingrained that feeling is when you've been scapegoated by your parents and your family.
Yes, it is like criminal to have that, that is done to a person. Absolutely criminal, because it just messes up your neural pathways.
Yeah.
And also it just impacts adult life so much. How are you supposed to get a job? How are you supposed to have a career if you can't interact with other humans?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh
Absolutely
yeah. I fully believe
horrific.
it's criminalized. I fully believe
Mm,
that
mm,
this form of abuse is like, because it permeates your whole life. It doesn't just affect
mm,
you emotionally, it affects you in your ability to show up and function in the world. It affects your
yeah.
health. It affects
Mm,
so many, your finances. Like
mm,
it puts you in survival mode, which affects your finances and affects your ability to be an adult. Like it just, yeah, I think it's very, very criminal doing that to somebody, and the way that that affects them in relationships. And then, of course, because society doesn't understand, they judge
mm,
that. They're like, oh, look at you. You don't have your life together and you
yeah.
seem like a mess or whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
they don't understand the pain and what you've gone through. They just
Mm,
judge it from the outside looking in, and then that causes more trauma. It's just, yeah, it's awful. So I feel like understanding this and having a collective understanding and awareness about it is super important. And I think that
mm,
as more people understand it, hopefully maybe one day it will be criminalized, because of the seriousness that, the implications of this like are like,
mm,
they're so, yeah, they're devastating to your whole being. But yeah, I think definitely the feeling of not being liked, like it's
mm,
like a twofold thing. I had to get okay with not being liked, and like let that be okay if people didn't like me for whatever reason, because I
mm,
can't control that.
yeah.
But also healing from the fact that I actually am a likable person, and there
Mm,
hasn't been anything wrong with me this whole time. I just unfortunately was around really mean people who just like
Yeah.
made me feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that that's the truth, and like having that self-trust to keep coming
Mm-hmm.
back to that instead of going back to the negative beliefs about myself that, you know, they want me to feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as well as other people not liking us, it's that they're going to do something to hurt us as well. It's like, you know, so the threat of being the family scapegoat, and when that permeates the rest of our life, it's as well as like other people rejecting us, not liking us, but there's further ramifications in terms of like it's actually dangerous because like those other people can really gang up and really make your life a living hell. So,
Yeah, and it can be a reality that we
mm,
experience. Like a lot
yeah.
of you know, scapegoat children and people who have experienced this abuse have a history of abuse their whole life after that,
Mm-hmm.
because abuse becomes normalized and it becomes the way that we just are in the world, like just how we relate to people, because we don't know what real love is. And
Mm,
then unfortunately predators and abusers take advantage of that, and you know, it can be like a pattern of just like always being abused by people, and that in and of itself is very you know, a painful traumatic experience. So yeah, it's really awful like what this experience can do to somebody, and that's why like I feel like the compassion is so needed,
mm,
um because there's just so much that it affects in terms of like your ability to even have healthy relationships.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then the healing part of it is like we have to heal internally. We have to repair the attachment rupture within ourselves, really. And build a connection with ourselves, build a connection with the
Yeah.
inner child. And then that becomes our safety net in our
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah, you have to become your own family,
Mm,
you know? Like
mm,
it's almost like I feel like I've become my own family in a way, like my own mom, my own dad, my own brother, my own sister, because
yeah.
at the end of the day, like I had to realize that even though, yes, on a primal level, it's obviously completely valid to want the love of your family, and that's, you know, how we're biologically wired, and that makes sense. And at the end of the day, they don't define me and they don't define my self-worth and my values. So I had to detach my sense of self-worth and lovability from like my parents and my family, and
Mm,
like get to a place where I loved myself regardless of what they felt or how they made me feel, or, you know, what they did to me, like knowing that I'm still lovable and I'm still worthy, regardless of how they've treated me, regardless of what they say about me. Um, and just knowing that like that is not dependent on them anymore. You know, like
mm,
I can decide that I actually do love myself and that I don't need to have their love in order to love myself. And that, like I said, very advanced to get to that point, because
yeah.
it's not normal. It's not natural to have to
Yeah.
do that. Like the
Yeah.
average person doesn't have to like, you know,
Exactly.
ground into that level of like radical self-love. But when you've been through this experience, there's no other choice. You have to come to a place of self-love that's like detached
Yeah.
from other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're just a human on the earth. Like there's nobody else. Like you're just kind of plonked down onto planet Earth because there's no lineage. You're
Yeah.
like breaking free of the lineage. Like there's no connection because there's no love coming into you. So you're just an independent human being on
Yeah.
your own family, your own family. It's a new lineage going forward.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's why I always say, like, I feel like it's like there's like a, because like typically a family is supposed to be what really tethers you to this physical plane. Like that's like your
Yes.
history, the history of your bloodline on the planet, you know,
Yeah.
your DNA, your humanity. So it's a big deal, obviously. But when you don't have that, like what do? You need to create your own lineage. You need to create your own history, and you can be you're going to be the first
Yes.
person in that. So it's kind of like something where I realized like I had to heal on the existential level of, just so desperately wanting this like existential safety and like
Mm.
security and
Yeah.
support
Yeah.
from having a family, and realizing that I was never going to have that, at
Mm-hmm.
least um, from my past lineage until me,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
I can create that for my future lineage. And
Yeah.
I guess that is beautiful in and of itself.
Yeah. And then when you do that, you feel a bit more grounded on planet Earth. And then I always think of it as it's like being an astronaut, but not even having that umbilical cord that the astronaut has to the spaceship. That's what it's like to be the scapegoat child. You're just floating off of planet Earth. You don't have any lineage. They've just kind of rejected you. So that's what you are
Yeah.
as a human. Energetically, you're just floating off the side of the earth. So yeah, and then the healing journey is like come back in and ground yourself down like a tree. You need to become a
Yeah.
tree. And then start a new lineage like both of us are doing. We're the first person in the new lineage.
Yeah. Yeah. And because yeah, you need to create that anchor because you don't have an
Mm.
anchor.
Yeah.
Um, or the anchor is stolen from you when you
Yeah.
are the family scapegoat. But then
Yeah.
when you start to love yourself and ground into your own love for yourself and your own worthiness and your own safety and belonging within yourself, then you can start to create the possibility for that for the future,
Yeah.
whoever comes after you, that you can have that, or you can give that to
Hmm.
them, which I think is
Exactly.
really beautiful. And even if
Yeah.
you don't have children, it's still just like, and I see it on a spiritual level. It's kind of like
Yes.
you've broken that generational curse or generational
Yeah.
toxic pattern that's been going
Yeah.
down your lineage. And
Yes.
I think that's also really powerful, even if you don't have children, because it's kind of like it ends with you, and
Yeah.
it doesn't continue, which I think is really, really big, a big deal to be able to like do that. But it takes so much self love. Like I said, it's not, I honestly feel like there's like a spiritual element of this path, because it's really not like we're not cut out for that typically as a human. Like you're supposed to be able to be loved by people
I
and by your
know.
family.
I
So
know.
it's really, really, I know it's like it seems impossible sometimes to be able to actually feel like you can get to that
Hmm.
place. And I feel like if people are watching, they feel like I could never feel like that. Like I need my family, I need my parents' love. And I totally hear you.
Mm.
But also like I had to start to question like, is that actually true though? Like, because I don't have it.
Yeah.
So like if I have
Yeah.
to have my parents' love to survive, like I'm just
Yes.
probably not going to survive then. So it's like
Yeah.
starting to just realize like, is that actually true? Like, do I actually need to have their love? Like, or do
Yes.
I just feel,
Yeah.
am I afraid because I think I need their love because I've been
Yeah.
like conditioned to think I was. So then
Yeah.
once I like sat through the fear and like the anxiety around it, I started to realize like, okay, no, they like, yeah, it's great to have, but I'm still going to be able to survive and be okay as long as I
Mm.
have my own love. Like that's the person's love I
Mm.
need the most, is my
Yeah.
own love, and
Yeah.
realizing that like sometimes in relationship, like what we're really wanting is our own love from people.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
but like I said, it's not like wrong or bad to want that from your
Yeah.
family. It's just knowing that like in this experience, unfortunately, we weren't really given the luxury of that. So we have to create our own sense of love and family within ourselves.
And it is like it's like a fish swimming, a fish, and then the river is like literally going up like that, and then the fish is swimming upstream. That's what it's like to try
Yeah.
and get a bit of a grounding, a sense of grounding with this experience and to come through this experience.
Yeah. And if anybody needs help with that, just something that really helped me, well, two things. One, just like um maybe asking yourself like the things that if somebody was from the outside looking in, like what are some things about you that you really value that you think are really positive and beneficial, just to kind of start to like acknowledge yourself for the positive qualities that you have.
Mm.
Um, and it could just be like, I love the way I treat animals. I love how creative I am. I love the way that,
Mm.
I care about people or whatever, just to kind of like build that up. But also like asking yourself the question, like, what would someone who loved themselves do? that's another thing too that really helped me with growing in self-love.
Yeah. And moving, fast forwarding then a bit on your timeline, can you share a bit about how you came to actually go no contact? I know you had a few attempts, lots of us have a few attempts at it. The one to the point where you documented it.
Yeah, so my first attempt was I went no contact for 10 years. And during that time, that was the first time I broke away, but it was kind of like at that time, purely just based off of survival because I just couldn't function around them and I needed to just like get away and focus on myself and my healing. So during that 10-year time, I was really focused on my inner healing and just trying to recover from all the trauma that I had been through. So I had very severe CPTSD and just a lot of just self-esteem issues and just like I said, feeling worthless and things like that. So I had to do a lot of inner healing work around that. But I still felt this like at the time desire to, or at least a desire to keep trying to have a relationship with them at one point, like maybe in the future. So I finally reconnected with them. And when I reconnected with them, I was hopeful that we could maybe start fresh because it had been 10 years and I had done a lot of inner healing work. So I thought, we can just I'm like, I know they're never going to probably be the ideal family that I want them to be, but at least maybe we can have some sort of surface level connection, or maybe I can even just have a relationship with my siblings. I was trying to see what I could salvage with them. And so long story short, I ended up moving back in with them after we had reconnected. And within a week of me being there, it was just like all the bullying started back up again. And it just was awful and like so painful living there. It was just like I had to gray rock for literally 14 months because that was the only way to survive being around them. And it was miserable and it was so isolating because where they had ended up moving to, no one else I knew lived there. So I didn't have like outside connection. And it was just very, very, it was awful. That was like one of the most darkest periods of my life. And I just remember just feeling very like, you know what, I deserve better than this, because I had done all this inner work and being back with them, it's like I was looking at things from a different lens now. I'm like, you know what? I actually love myself now. I actually value myself and I'm not putting up with this anymore. Like I don't want to be in relationship with people who treat me like this. I don't want to be in relationship with people who clearly don't like me. Clearly they don't like me. They don't value me as a person. They don't respect me. They're okay with hurting me. Like why? I just don't want to be I don't want them in my life anymore. So I was just like thinking these types of things. And I was listening to a lot of podcasts about other victims of abuse escaping their abusers. And I just built up my courage. And then, long story short, after I listened to one of the podcasts, the podcast is called Narcissist Apocalypse. If anybody wants to listen, but there was a episode that I listened to, and then the host said that if you're currently trapped in an abusive household or abusive situation, there's a website you can go to. Then they offer help and support for that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that existed. So I went to the website. It was called domesticshelters.org. And I found a local domestic violence center in my area that was able to help me. And I called them and I told them my story, told them what I was going through and all the bullying and all of the, just misery and torment that I was experiencing on a daily basis. Cause I was very, very, I was like, suicidal at that point and very, very just like done, like energetically, emotionally, like physically. My physical health was suffering a lot. And so I was like, I really desperately need to get out of here, but I don't have the money to leave. And I don't know what to do. I have a place that I can go because I met someone online that had a room for rent, but I didn't have the money to actually make it happen. And so they did some interviews with me and I applied for their financial assistance and then I got approved and then they, wrote me a check and I was able to leave and it seriously saved my life, like 100%.
And tell us a little bit about your decision to document and your desire to impact and share your story with other people going through similar situations.
Yeah, well, I had been on this journey for a while. Like I've been on this journey for like, in terms of the inner healing, for like 13 years of like really sitting with this and understanding it and healing from it and doing inner work around it. So it's like, this is not something that I just spontaneously decided to talk about. Like I've been processing through and making sense of it for a really long time. And also with the family scapegoat specifically, I've been, I had been working on all of that stuff for a couple of years as well, because when I first found your account, Mary, that was in, I believe, 2021. It was at least 2021, if not 2020.
Mm.
That was when I really got the language of what being like, I didn't know what I was experiencing had a name. I didn't know that it was called being the scapegoat child or the family scapegoat. I didn't know, I never heard that before. But as soon as I read your posts, I was just like, yes, this is exactly word for word, like everything that you shared and everything that you post on your Instagram, like 100% was my experience. So I was like, okay, somebody actually understands it. I'm not the only one that's going through this. And so um, doing that for the last couple of years really helped me build up my confidence in talking about it. So by the time I actually was going to be leaving, I was like, I'm ready to share my story, because I realized that's like the one thing with my healing that I hadn't done, which I feel like is really healing, is like sharing your story and, potentially paying it forward and helping other people. So I just felt a very deep desire to actually talk about this and bring it into the light, because it's such a shamed thing and so taboo and so in the dark. And I just had this need for my healing to like bring it into the light and talk about it and actually like let people into what I've been going through, because it's kind of like the family secret, no one knew. So anyway, so I decided to just take some videos, because I've already been posting on TikTok and YouTube and stuff, and I'm really good at editing and stuff. So I just figured I'll just take some videos and maybe I'll do a little, vlog about it and just put it out there. But then when I actually got to my new place a couple months later, I was like, kept feeling this desire to share it and to post it. And I finally did. And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Amazing. And I know you're a singer-songwriter as well, and that ties into your story. What are your current plans? What is your ambitions for your career?
Yeah, I really just want to be a voice for in the mainstream pop culture, music industry, like for people who have been through this, because it's not really talked about in the music industry. I feel like a lot of the relationship things that people talk about are more with like romantic relationships in the music industry. But in terms of like the family and healing from abuse from your parents and your family and members, it's not talked about as much. So I just want to be a voice for that. And my music is all about healing from the trauma that I've been through and being a cycle breaker and healing from generational trauma as it relates to like the family scapegoat abuse and the narcissistic abuse and all the things that did to me and all of the experiences I've had with it, that have been really, really painful. Like music really did help me get through it. Like I would write a song about, for example, I wrote a song about not being invited to the wedding, and that helped me really heal from that, because I was feeling awful at the time, and just so many different experiences that I've had with them that I've been able to turn into something beautiful with music. And so that has been like seriously my lifeline. And I just felt like I wanted to share it, with the world. So now I'm, wanting to put my music out into the world. And I'm working on my EP, and EP is pretty much like a mini album. So it's like 5 songs. I'm working on that for 2 years and writing music around my experience as the family scapegoat. And yeah, and so I now have these songs that I want to be able to like go into the recording studio and actually record and put out into the world so other people can hear it and hopefully heal from it as well, because I feel like music is such a healing medicine, and it's one of the most powerful, things that we have, to just like express ourselves and also to like connect and feel like we're not alone and to feel understood, and it can be so therapeutic. So it's been therapeutic for me writing it and creating it, and now I want it to hopefully help other people on their healing journey as well, because I've been helped a lot by music throughout mine. So yeah, so to answer your question, my plans are I want to put out my EP through my Kickstarter. So I just launched a Kickstarter campaign. And for those of you who don't know, a Kickstarter is just like it's a crowdfunding platform where you can fund a creative project. So for me, I'm using it for my EP and getting my music out and getting my music career kind of jump started. So it will cover like, the actual recording, releasing of the music, marketing of it, as well as artist development and, things to hone my craft and things to just make me a better artist and, having a team to support me and my music journey, because it takes a lot to actually be a successful artist in the industry today. So yeah, I'm just asking for the support of the people who follow me and who, were inspired by my story, since I don't have like family support to be able to help get the music out.
Brilliant, Jhéani. Yes, we will definitely in the description below have the Kickstarter details. And did you want to just say it out now? Like, what is the link, or is it like a very long link? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I'm
Links.
calling it the Cycle Breaker EP. So I really resonate with being a cycle breaker, the cycle breaker in my lineage. So I felt like a lot of other people who commented on my video that went viral, a lot of people that commented also were cycle breakers, and they would say that in the comments. So it's not the official name of the EP, but it's just a nickname for right now. So the Cycle Breaker EP, if you go to kickstarter.com, or if you look up on the Kickstarter app, type in Cycle Breaker EP, you'll be able to find it. You'll see my face. It's just called, the campaign name is just Cycle Breaker EP Let's Heal Together. So you can just like look up my name, or you can look up the Cycle Breaker EP on Kickstarter and you'll find it. And Kickstarter actually just selected it as one of their featured projects on the platform. Yeah, I got an email saying that it's been selected as, it's called like Projects We Love. And it's just like them kind of giving their stamp of approval and like, supporting me and saying that they believe in what I'm doing. So that was really nice too, just to have the validation of the actual platform, like, highlighting my campaign. And so, yeah, you can just look it up on there, but I'll also share the link with you as well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And what kind of response do you get from your music from people when they hear it?
Well, I'm a pop R&B artist. So I feel like pop R&B can be so like I love it because it's my favorite type of music. I've always loved listening to pop R&B. I was like a late 90s, early 2000s baby with the music that I listened to, and I still listen to all that whole genre and that whole era of music. It's still my favorite music to listen to this day. And it can be really fun, and it can be really like lighthearted, and you may not even realize the depth in the lyrics sometimes. But then I also have songs that are like very heartfelt and very like, touching, and no one has actually heard the songs that I've worked on the last 2 years, because that's all been done kind of like, I didn't even know I was going to be releasing an EP. I was just writing for my own healing. And then after I got to a certain point with the amount of songs, I was like, wait, if I put all these together, they could actually be like a good EP, like a first little taste of my music for people. So that's why I decided to actually make it into an EP. But before, it was just kind of me doing it just to like express myself. So no one's actually heard these songs yet. But my co-writer, who I've been writing the songs with, she loves them, and she thinks that they're like, we're both like freaking out about them, honestly, because we're just like, oh, these are so good. And honestly, people who have been through this type of abuse, and people who are cycle breakers, people who are the scapegoat child in their family, will definitely appreciate the lyrics and the things that are talked about. So I'm excited to hear what people have to say, like, once it's out.
Cool. Can't wait to hear. And what is it like to have such a large audience now online? It's quite a contrast, isn't it? From growing up and being rejected and now having the complete opposite experience.
Yeah, it's so trippy to be seen on such a large level, because
Yeah.
I was not seen at all by my parents and my family. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact, I tried so hard for so long to get them to see me accurately. Like, they were just so dead set on the view that they wanted to paint of me and that they had of me. And I could never I could never snap them out of it. It's like they were under a spell or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really nice and validating to have people actually like see me and to actually be like, oh, like this is the person that I am, and this is like what I've been through, and have compassion. Like that feels so healing, because I feel like family people who have been through family scapegoating and being the scapegoat child, like we're so lacking in compassion. You know what I mean? Like we've been treated so cruelly by the people who are supposed to love us the most. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
it's really nice to have compassion from so many people. That was something that really like was healing from my video going viral.
Mm.
And it also is just nice to know that people are paying attention now, you know, to the things I'm saying, and I can actually like make an impact, and I can express myself and share, you know, what I've learned and what I've gone through, and help other people, and have like a way to influence people in a positive way, because you know, that's all I've ever wanted to do, and it's really nice to be able to do that through just like sharing my story. So
Mm.
that has been really cool. It's a little bit, it doesn't really feel scary, because I really feel like it's my purpose and what I'm meant to do. But it feels a little bit stretching, I guess, at
Mm.
times, because I know that people are paying attention, and that, you know, I do experience some like critical comments and things like that of people who just don't get it, who don't understand, and, you know, just having to like push through those and not let it affect me.
Mm.
You know, people who want to question my story and invalidate it, and get and like try to like, you know, downplay what victims go through.
Yeah.
Um, just having to like overlook those comments and not let them get to me. But yeah, but it's been crazy. It's honestly, I feel like it's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. Like to go from like having, I had 2,500 followers the day I posted that video,
Right.
and then now I have 80 something thousand.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
literally overnight, I gained, I think in the first 24 hours, I gained like 2 million views and like
Mhm.
15,000 followers just
Mm.
from that one video. So, and then since then, it's just only continued to grow. So it's been very, it's been very crazy, like just having, you know, reached so many people, but it also just feels right, because I feel like I was meant to talk
Mm.
about this. And I feel like this is why, honestly, why I came here. You know, like why I was born. I feel like this was my purpose. And so it does feel good to be feeling like I'm actually fulfilling that.
Mm. Because it is quite a journey to like have a childhood where your identity, your sense of self is absolutely crushed. And then in your adulthood to be a singer-songwriter where you're not going to have impact if you're not 100% authentic. So that
Yeah.
is pretty big journey and transformation. What you've been able to do all that is very impressive.
Yeah, no, I'm so grateful for the healing work I did before all of this happened, because
Mm,
I feel like that's helped me have a sense of like peace and groundedness throughout all of it.
mm,
And I feel like I can speak what, like the place I can speak from now is so much healthier, I guess, than maybe it would have been had I not gone through that, because now I feel like I've integrated a lot of, you know, the deep pain and the deep trauma. So now I'm kind of able to share from a place that I think can help people see the big picture and like inspire them.
mm, mhm,
Um, but yeah, that's been really nice, because I just always just wanted to be like able to be my authentic self, and just
mm,
um, you know, create and express myself with what I'm actually like passionate about and what I'm growing through. And I feel like I get to do that now just from sharing my story, which is really nice.
mm. And what is the specific part of your story that resonates with people? Because there's a few people who have been the family scapegoat who share their story, and everybody has their own individual story and circumstances and route to healing. And then everybody's voice is different. And the people who resonate with you, these 12.5 million people, um, what are they picking up from you that resonates in them?
Mm. I think I guess maybe what they're picking up that probably resonates is just like you're not the problem. Like, like because um it's just really easy to feel like you're the one that is the problem in this situation because obviously you're being told that you're the problem and you're like being, made to feel like
Yeah.
you're the problem. And you can be such a kind, loving person and such a gift to the people around you, and that just
Mm.
completely not be seen at all by your
Mm.
parents and your
Yeah.
family. And it's just such a
Mm.
trippy thing to be like, you're like, I know I'm a good person. I know I have all these like positive qualities, but yet I'm being made to feel like, you know, I'm a terrible person. And I'm like,
Mm.
it's so confusing. It's like really
Yeah.
confusing. Um, and I think like there's people who really do have like really loving, sweet souls that are just, feel so not able to trust themselves and like in that because of how they've been made to feel by their family. And I think people see me and they're like, oh my gosh, like you're actually really sweet, you're really loving and you're really compassionate and you have such a pure heart and like, you know, and so do I. And I don't understand why we're treated like this, And I'm like, girl, I don't understand it either. But it's a thing apparently, And
Yeah.
I think like yeah,
Mm.
just people who are really sensitive and really loving and just like maybe feel like, you know, they finally can see that they're not the problem anymore because they see someone else that they feel like, okay, yeah, I have the same kind of values as this person. I have the same kind of like desire to help the world. And yet I was treated this way. So it must not just be me that, is going through
Mm.
this. And I also think just like creative people too, who have been like shamed for their, passions and desires to like, really just be their own person, which is a
Mm.
valid desire as a human being. I think a lot of creative people are inspired by my story. Because like scapegoat children, our parents can be very controlling about, our expression and things like that.
Mm.
Um, and I have like my parents are both I'm African, so I think there's a big epidemic of this also in the African community. So I wouldn't be surprised if that also has resonated with people too, because there's a lot of like African like first generation African children that have very narcissistic abusive parents and
Mm.
have been through similar experiences. And yeah, just so many different types of people, I feel like. But I guess like the main thing is just having people are just resonating with like the courage, I guess, to choose yourself and love yourself
Mm.
despite being so programmed not to, from this experience.
Brilliant. And what are your ambitions with your music career?
Ooh, I have a lot of ambitions on music career. Well, the main thing I just want to get my music out. I just want my music to be heard by people. I've waited my whole life to finally be able to put out music, and I
Mm.
tried like so many different times
Mm.
throughout my life to put out music, and it wasn't supported by my parents growing up because they had their own very rigid plans that they wanted me to have or that they wanted me to live out, when I was born. They wanted me to do their path, of like what they thought my life should be.
Mhm.
Um, and I wanted to be creative and I wanted to be a singer and perform, and it didn't fit what they wanted. And that was actually one of the main reasons why I was scapegoated, because I was seen as being like stubborn and too difficult. And, because I didn't want to live the life that my parents wanted me to live as like being a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And I just couldn't help it. I always just loved singing. And I always just loved performing and like music. I just always wanted to
Mm.
do that. And I was never like supported in that. So I had a lot of issues with like being able to put out music because of that. And then I also just throughout my life, like healing from all of this, I was in survival mode for so long that I just, between the survival mode and also trying to heal, I didn't have the ability to actually put out the music. So
Mm.
the biggest goal I have right now is just putting out the music
Yeah.
finally. And that's why I did the Kickstarter. But then like from there, I just want to like really be a voice, like I said, for people who have been through this and hopefully get my music out to more people all over the world and to like educate the rest of society about it. Because like I said, a lot of people don't know that this is going on. Like in the collective, I mean, we're definitely becoming more aware now because of the internet. But you know, I feel like a lot of people just don't understand what it means, you know, and what like we're going through when you have this kind of a, you know, abuse history, because it's very hidden, and like people just aren't familiar with like what it's like to not have a family and to not have, you know, that safety net in your life. So I just want to like create more compassion from the rest of society towards people who don't have families and people who have been scapegoated and abused by their family, because we're already going through enough as it is, and we don't need more judgment and more shame and more, you know, yeah, just like cruelty from the rest of the world because they don't understand, you know. So I just want to like hopefully start to change the public perception of what is actually going on, so that people can have more understanding of what it even means to be the family scapegoat, and like hopefully start to have more compassion around it.
Brilliant. Yeah, bringing it out into the open, talking about
Yeah.
it, removing the shame and the taboo around it.
Yeah, because there's so much shame, and that the shame is actually a big part of what keeps people from healing, because they are so afraid to bring it into the light. You know, it's
Yeah.
like so uncomfortable to talk about. And like even when I first like started talking with you, Mary, and like sharing more about what I was going through, like I feel like that helped me a lot in my healing. But just like actually just naming it and
Yeah.
owning the fact that that this was a reality, and it's so like it's so dark and it's so ugly, so it's not something that people want to talk about. But that is a big way that I've healed, is just like actually bringing it into the light and letting people like know what my experience has been.
Yeah, the whole thing about the dysfunctional family is that the family scapegoat carries the shame for the lineage. So then if we can actually start to share a little bit of our story, it just breaks the shame. And then it frees us. And then we can allow in compassion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Jhéani. It's been lovely to connect with you today and talk with you today. Is there anything that we didn't mention? Anything else that you wanted to share? Final words. Final words.
I would say, one, it's possible to heal from this abuse. So if you're the family scapegoat and if you've been through being scapegoated by the people who are supposed to love you more than anyone in the world, like just know that you're not alone and that you can heal from it. I know how excruciatingly painful it is, but I just want to give you hope that, you know, it's possible to recover from this. And it really just starts with like you understanding what is happening and knowing that this is a thing that people are going through and that you're not alone. And just getting more and more confident and trusting yourself that you're not the problem, and that this is actually like something that, you know, has been going on, that you've experienced, and that you can heal from. You know, just learning the right tools and like how to recover, which I know is what you share, Mary, is like how to help people recover. And then also just that it's not too late to reclaim your destiny and your purpose and the things that you love, because I know that can be really affected with being through trauma in general, but especially this kind of trauma. It's just so all consuming and makes you feel like so terrible about yourself and so not motivated in your future, you know, and wanting to like actually even, or not even just wanting, but even being able, feeling even able to do the things that you love, because you're just so, you're in so much pain, you know? So I just want to remind people that the things that you love and the things that you're passionate about are healing medicine for you, and to just do the best you can to do them, even if like a little bit, a couple times a week. Find something that you love to do that you're passionate about and start moving in that direction, because I feel like that is a big key to healing. And yeah, and just like kind of reclaiming your life and taking it back from your abusers.
Beautiful. Thank you very, very much, Jhéani. Best of luck with the EP, and I can't wait to hear when it's released.
And action. Hi, my name is Jhéani. I'm an aspiring pop R&B artist, and I would love to invite you to support me in releasing my debut EP and launching my music career. So many of you found me because I recently shared a video on TikTok that went viral of me escaping my abusive family and moving across the country to California. And I'm just so blown away by the response. The fact that at the time of this recording, at least, 3.5 million people have watched that video, and I got like 2,000 comments, 340 something thousand likes. It's insane, and I'm just so grateful for all of you. One, I'm just relieved that you found me and that I have your support now. Clearly it resonated with so many of you, and it's just such a relief to know that I'm not alone and that you guys see me, you understand what I've been through, you can relate to what I've been through, and that's just such a gift to be able to have this connection with you guys and knowing that you guys have also had similar experiences. I'm so grateful that you're all here. At the end of that video, I mentioned that I'm finally back in LA, where I belong, and I'm able to pursue my dream of being a pop star, of being a singer, and I've always wanted to be a singer my whole life. I moved out to LA for the first time in 2014, and I lived out here for 5.5 years until COVID happened. And then obviously the world shut down and I wasn't able to pursue anything. And then I also was just still like in the thick of healing. I was still very much processing through all of my pain and trauma. So it made it really hard between trying to heal from all the things I'd been through and trying to survive, to find time to be able to like actually pursue my dreams. I was able to do some like little intimate shows. I did a show at the Mint, and I did a show at Hotel Cafe, and I recorded some demos with some different people that I worked with, but I wasn't really able to gain the traction that I needed to really see my music career take off. And then when COVID happened, I just was forced to move back home to Ohio. And so I lived out there for a little bit, and then I ended up reconnecting with my family and hoping that I could salvage our relationship, but then I realized that they were never going to change. And thankfully, with the support of a very generous domestic violence center, I was able to escape and get back to California. And now, all I want in the world is to be able to actually see my music dreams come true, actually put out the music that I've been working on, and share it with all of you. That, to me, is the most healing thing that I could ever do, coming from everything I've been through, being able to actually take that trauma, take that pain of decades of abuse and just awful experiences and putting it into music and making something beautiful out of it that can impact other people and help other people heal. So a little bit more about me. I grew up always wanting to be a singer. When I was 7 years old, I watched Aaliyah's Are You That Somebody music video, and I remember watching it and just being like so struck with this deep knowing that that's what I wanted to do and that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I just have been singing ever since. I've always loved singing. I've always been performing, and I would do show choir and musical theater growing up, and I'd perform at my school's like talent shows and choir concerts, and I would sing the national anthem at my school's basketball games. And when I was 17, I recorded my first original song called Light It Up. And looking back, it's really cringy, but yeah, I just fell in love with songwriting and recording in the studio, and I was really like hopeful to be able to start doing more of that. But then unfortunately, it's just never worked out. It's never worked out before this for me to be able to actually put this music out. Fast forward to January 2022, I started working with a songwriter producer duo. We just started working through Zoom and wrote a song that we both really loved. And so then we just kept meeting, kept writing, and fast forward now, all that's left to do is for me to record it and then release it and market it afterwards so that you guys can all listen to it and have it be yours. So that's what this Kickstarter is all about. Because now that I have a support system and I have you guys who are so invested in my journey and my story, the most healing, generous, loving thing you could possibly do is support me and my inner child in making my dreams to be a singer come true. I just want to ask that you would help me with getting my music career off the ground by helping me release my first EP. It's going to be 5 songs, and anything that we raise above and beyond that obviously will just go towards an album. My inspirations are like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Aaliyah. So kind of picture if they had a baby, that would pretty much be like my music. So my Kickstarter would all go towards the recording process, A&R process, marketing, branding, social media content scheduling, rollout scheduling, pretty much all the things I would need to be successful that I can't do on my own. In addition to that, this Kickstarter will also go towards honing my craft even more with vocal lessons, working with a choreographer, creative director, and being able to work with a videographer so I can create music videos and visualizers for my songs when they come out. Any additional funding outside of these costs will go towards my continued healing journey, self-care, and future full-length album, and maybe even a mini tour once the EP is out. Just so many pieces of the puzzle that I've needed for so long, but just didn't have the resources to be able to make happen. I'm so grateful for TikTok because I started posting on there in 2022, and it gave me an outlet to actually be able to like connect with people and get my voice out there, get my face out there. And then I just, out of nowhere, went viral from sharing my story and from being vulnerable. I feel like now we have like a really deep bond between us. You know, you guys have shared your stories with me and they really touch my heart. And so I really love that. And I love that I can like bring that into my music career and in my journey as an artist. With my fully funded campaign, I'd be able to release my debut EP, and whether it's $5 or it's $500, I appreciate it all the same. Every single dollar seriously means the world to me. There's also going to be different rewards that you get, and I'm super excited for those, for you guys to be able to experience those. They're going to be very exclusive because you guys are helping literally make my dreams come true, which is the most healing thing in the entire world for me. You have absolutely nothing to lose, and when it is fully funded, you get to have an EP that you can listen to for the rest of your life. I honestly look forward to bringing more awareness to family abuse, family bullying, narcissistic abuse, family scapegoat abuse, and CPTSD, and all these types of issues. I want to bring more awareness to that, to mainstream culture and pop culture, and just to the world in general, because I feel like it's something that's very taboo and very just like hidden and not talked about and not advocated for. And I just feel like people who are in this position, like us cycle breakers, we need more advocates. We need more people who understand. We need more people who stand up for us, who share their story, and who bring light to the suffering and the pain that we've been through. And I really want to be a voice for that. I know and believe that these 5 songs are going to speak to cycle breakers everywhere. And if you consider yourself a cycle breaker, I know for sure that you will resonate with these songs. There's a little bit of everything. There's like a fun pop princess anthem. There's like a heartfelt, like emotional song. There's like a mid-tempo. There's so many amazing topics that you guys are all going to understand because you guys know what it's like when you're the family scapegoat, when you've been abused, when you experience this kind of bullying and trauma. So you're going to instantly, I feel like, hear yourself and recognize yourself in the songs. As painful and as sad and as heartbreaking as my story is, I really believe that this is bigger than me, and I don't believe that I went through all of that for no reason. And now I get to use it and turn it into something beautiful through my music and through reaching people and impacting people and helping set other people free who are still possibly stuck in those situations. Because I honestly believe that music is the most healing thing in the entire world, the most healing medicine. And I can't think of anything more that I can offer the world that would be as impactful and healing as this project. I really appreciate your support. Thank you guys so much for all the love. Thank you for all the vulnerability that you've shared with me, sharing your escape stories, sharing your trauma that you've been through with me. I seriously cherish every single one. I have felt alone, like I said, and I've been alone for a very long time, and it just feels really good to have you guys. And I may not have parents, I may not have siblings anymore, I may not have a family where I feel loved and safe and supported,
but now I have you guys, so I'm really grateful, and thank you for, sorry, now I'm starting to cry. Thank you for being here and for caring and for seeing me, and sorry. But yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for your support and for just allowing me to get to this point where I can have my dream come true, possibly. So your presence in my life truly means so much. In whatever way you choose to support me, whatever amount you choose to donate, seriously means the world, and I'm so grateful, and I thank you so much. So yeah, I just wanted to invite you to click below and give your contribution to the Cycle Breaker EP. It's going to be so amazing, you guys. Honestly, I really believe it's made better than you're even expecting, and with your support and with the people that I get to work with through this campaign being funded, it's gonna be so good, and I'm so excited. So I love you guys so much. Can't wait to go on this journey with you. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate all the love. So click below and give whatever you feel led to give. And I can't wait to have my music finally out into the world. Love you so much.
And now you judge me, can't even look me in my eyes, 'cause you're my family.